Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Clifford Stemmy. Welcome to College Hacked, where today we have a very special episode for you. Today we are going to be doing a tier ranking of some of the primary top colleges that claim to be hackable in the world. All right, and to help me with this, I have our one of our experts in residence, Noah Godwin, who is actually the College Hacked intern currently.
Hello.
If you've watched any of our Franklin University videos, most of those are Noah's brainchild because that is actually the school that he is working on hacking for himself, even though he's still several years out from being done with high school. Despite that, he knows a ton about college hacking, has done a ton of research, and we're excited to have him, talk about a few of the different colleges we're talking about today. Noah, you ready for this?
Yep. Let's get into it.
All right. So we've got a lot of colleges to go through, and we have kind of a specialized tier list here because we have the normal rankings, but we also have one row for just colleges that are really good at one thing. And so they'll be a really good fit for some people, but not for most people. But other than that, it's just a normal tier ranking with S for, I guess, superlative, and then the A, B, C, D. What school do you want to start with first?
Let's start with Purdue since it's first up.
Okie doke. So Purdue Global is fairly affordable per credit, but they do operate on a 180 credit system. So they're actually not that affordable unless you do their Excel track. And I'll go ahead and show you guys some of the things that we're talking about as we're talking about them. But Purdue Global does have several degrees that you can do on a subscription basis where you're paying for a 12-week term and you can knock out as many courses as you want. If you don't do it that way, you're going to end up spending more than average just because they charge kind of a normal per credit rate, but they have more credits and their credits are smaller. Noah, do you have anything you want to throw in there about Purdue Global? Or are they more my expertise?
Yeah. One thing I'll add is that Purdue has one of the largest in-person campuses, and they're also one of the more well-known colleges on here. Liberty also has a pretty big in-person campus, so if you're looking for a degree that has high recognition, they might be higher up on that list too.
That is a super good point. As far as recognition, out of all of these, Purdue is probably the second biggest name. So that is a really good point. All things considered, they're not quite as hackable as some of the colleges we'll talk about. They're not quite as cheap as some of them, and they're about as fast. I'm feeling a strong B.
I'm feeling strong B too.
Yeah. Sounds good. Next up, we have Colorado State University. And I just threw this on the list here today because I was doing a lot of research on them. Are you familiar with them at all?
I am not familiar with them at all, so
okay.
This will be interesting.
Yeah, they're basically, Colorado State University is a school with a good name, and they have that global campus, and you'll kind of see that as a theme with some of the other schools that I threw on here today. I just was kind of on a global campus kick. They are not quite as hackable, but they are still fairly hackable, and they're very cheap per credit hour. I think like $3.50 per credit hour. So they are a strong competitor to SNHU, but they're still not quite as hackable, even though they do tend to have pretty large free elective sections. They don't have a subscription-based model. It's all per credit, but they are overall, I think, a very, very strong school. And I would probably put them at a very, very high C, maybe a low B. If we have too many in C later on, we should bump it up to a B. But yeah. Thomas Edison. Noah, what do we know about Thomas Edison?
I mean, you probably know more about this than me since you got your bachelor's from here, right?
Hey. Yeah, even though they've changed so much in the last 10 years.
I think they're really solid both from a time or saving time standpoint and both a price standpoint. Can you remind me what their credit hour is?
They are 120 credits per degree, so very standard.
Okay. And what's the price per credit hour?
So that's the weird part. Their pricing is like the worst thing about them. They charge per credit for out-of-staters like most of us, $535 per credit hour, which is insane. It's like over $60,000 for a whole degree.
Especially for an online college.
Yeah, for real. I don't know who they think they are, but if you look at just their full-time flat rate, you could do 12 credits at a time for no more than $5,000, which comes out to less, which would come out to like $420. It's average.
So not quite as good as I thought in terms of price,
Yeah.
But still not the worst out there. And you can get a degree, like it's hackable too, so you can hack most of your credits.
And that's the big thing, yeah.
I would say Mid to high B tier. What do you think?
Um, I'm gonna say okay. So here's the thing that puts them up. I think an A. And let me know if you disagree. But they work really well with almost every single type of transfer credit and alternative credit, except for Sophia, which they do work with. They just don't work with them openly. Like you have to actually apply. But they work really, really well with everything else. And even though their credits cost more, you only have to take 18 credits or 16 credits in courses with them, and the rest you can do with tests that they offer. So even though like 30 credits with them should cost $15,000, it really only costs 10, and it is one of still, despite some policy changes that made them less friendly, still one of the fastest and cheapest colleges out there.
All right.
So
So we say A?
let's say low A. Let's say low
Low
A.
A. Okay.
If we have a bunch of A's, we can bump them down to a B.
It's definitely one of those colleges where you have to work harder to like see whether it's the right fit for you. I
That's
mean, some of them are pretty obvious. TSU is more complicated.
exactly. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. It's like if you put in the extra work, you will get more out of it. But if you're looking for simple, it's not necessarily the way to go. That is really astute. WGU, Western Governors University. I think you've talked about these guys before. What do you think?
They're actually the reason why I wanted to put in the specialized tier here.
Oh, yeah?
Because I think that they can be very, very good, possibly even like first place S tier for some people, and for others, you really just can't go there. Even if you really like their policies or price or anything, that's mostly because of their degree selection. It's kind of limited and niche.
They basically just focus on degrees that will make you money or teaching degrees. So
Yeah.
you can do a business degree, you can do an education degree, you can do an IT degree or a health and nursing degree. Most notably, perhaps like the healthcare management degree, just a bunch of different types of business degrees, different specialties. The IT stuff is really good. They have a lot to choose from there. Some of the best options for like online undergraduate computer degrees. And then for some reason they chose education, which just doesn't seem to fit with the other three, but maybe it's just what they thought the world needed more of. So you're right. They don't have a lot of variety, but they do work well with a lot of hacking credit. Probably their biggest downfall, even more than the limited selection, would be the lack of free electives. They don't have free electives in their degree. So if you like started a psychology degree 10 years ago and you want to transfer it in and see if you can get some credit for it, not at WGU. You got to start kind of from scratch there. A lot of gen eds will still transfer, a lot of business classes will still transfer, but some people it could just not be a good fit. Plus, you also can't go there if you're international. It's only for U.S. citizens. That has turned it down for a lot of people as well. So you're thinking specialized for WGU?
Definitely. I mean, if you are wanting some sort of IT or basic business degree, and you want to get it quick, I mean, these are probably one of the fastest degree options out there. Like some people can get them done in 6 months because I think most of, if not all of their courses are competency based.
Yeah.
Where you can study on your own and take a test pretty much whenever you want.
I can confirm, and you pay like somewhere between $3,600 and $4,200 to take a 6-month term, and then you knock out as many courses as possible. Yeah. I haven't done a review on them, but I will say, just as a spoiler, if I was to do a review on them, which I will soon, they would definitely hit the 3.0 GPA and be a hackable college. So I would say that specialized works. I would also give them a high B, maybe a low A too.
Yeah.
So let's go with specialized for now. Next up is Liberty University, and we'll do Southern New Hampshire right after Liberty because they're very, very similar. I'll speak to Liberty because I did teach there, and I did get a degree with them online and a degree residentially. Liberty is good at a lot of things. They are one of the best about accepting credits from outside sources, sometimes to the point of insanity. But I've seen credits from the 70s. I've seen tons of military credits, tons of work experience credits. I even got hacking credit for my PhD for like 14 credits of it, which is almost unheard of. Their downfall is that they're just a regular old asynchronous online program. The student experience is fine. It's nothing really to write home about. But they have a lot of degrees to choose from, and that is really, really cool. Unless you would differ, I would put them slightly above CSU Global because I think they have more choices, even if they are a little bit pricier.
I mean, I agree with that. I'd say they're very similar to Purdue University, both in the sense that they have a big in-person program, so
Yeah.
they're pretty well recognized, and they're reasonably hackable too. Definitely on the higher end.
Yeah, and they have internal hacking options. They have work experience assessment, and they are very open to like almost every single type of alternative credit out there. The only thing that's keeping them from A for me is just that they cost like $390 per credit hour, which is closer to average than it is to awesome. Southern New Hampshire. How familiar are you with these guys?
I've seen a lot of ads from them, but I haven't.
You and
done
everybody else.
that
There's
much.
so many ads.
They spend a lot of money on marketing,
Yeah.
which kind of at first gave me a bad impression, weirdly.
Yeah.
But you've done a lot of research on them. What have you learned?
Yeah, I did a review about them recently, and I'm going to be posting my video, the 2023 version of the best online colleges for busy adults. And from everything that I've seen, I think they're an A tier. They're below Thomas Edison, but they have, I think, more degrees to choose from. A lot of those degrees are very, very hackable. Probably not as many hackable degrees as Thomas Edison has, but they only cost $320 per credit hour. And so it's like you can basically pay almost exactly the same as Thomas Edison, take maybe 8 weeks more to finish it up, but there's so much less rigmarole and so much less taking this specialized test and going here for this one and going there for that one. I think it's overall probably a smoother experience for students, but not like if you put the work into Thomas Edison, I think you can get slightly more out.
It's also a lot more simple than Thomas Edison. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for more of an easy path, I think they're slightly better in that regards.
Yeah, they're basically like Liberty in a lot of ways in that they do work with all these alternative credits. They really like them. The only difference between them and Liberty really is that they have I think the student experience at Liberty might be a little bit better, but Southern New Hampshire is significantly cheaper at only $320 per credit hour. All right, ASU. I'll just real quick, I'm going to put this one in specialized.
I did not expect that.
Oh,
Okay,
really?
explain.
Where would you put it?
I would probably put it in B tier,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because I think they're like one of the largest universities in the United States, close to Texas A&M. I could be wrong here.
Let's see. 65,000. That is very,
Okay.
very large.
So there's that. Obviously, they have a lot of experience and resources to pull from.
Yeah.
I haven't done too much work into their online program, but it does seem like they're sort of shifting into more competency-based education.
Ooh, okay. I did not know about that. That is awesome.
There's one other thing, but
Oh,
I'll
yeah?
let you talk for a bit.
Okay. The reason that I'm suggesting specialized, ASU has some of the highest educational standards of any of these schools. And so if you're looking for a really quality educational experience, which a lot of college hackers are not, they're looking to get that bachelor's degree so they can build their career, right? That's for a lot of people the goal. And, there's plenty of ways to learn. We don't have to pay somebody thousands of dollars to be able to learn. We can just learn. But if you really want a really quality educational experience, ASU is good, partially because they have annex campuses where you can go attend courses in person in some of the larger cities. They're also harder to hack. You're going to max be able to hack maybe 45 credits in some of their most flexible degrees. So they're not really hackable. But if you want to hack a little bit and have a great educational experience, ASU is a great one.
One other thing about them, actually, Clifford, could you do me a favor and look up Study Hall ASU?
Sure. Oh, I know what you're
about?
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go Study Hall.
So the creators of Crash Course recently partnered with ASU, and they don't have too many courses available right now, but they're starting to try and provide early college credits to high school students. I think they don't have too many options, but it's good that they're starting to, and at only $25 per course, like that's pretty good.
Yeah. Wait, how much did you say per course?
$25.
Okay, so it's 25 to take the course, but I'm pretty sure if you want college credit like certified for it, it's another 400. I think that was the catch.
Yeah.
But still a really cool thing. It's ASU credit, which is easily transferable to a lot of the schools we're talking about. So, and $400 per course is not bad at all. That is, like $130 per credit hour, which is better than like any college we've talked about so far.
Especially if you're in high school and you have like time to get a head start on this.
Yeah.
Like even if the cost per credit is larger. Getting college credits as early as possible can transfer into like a much higher salary in your career
Hmm.
sooner, which can pay off any debt that you may get.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right there. Shall we talk about Grand Canyon University?
I really don't know much about this one, so
Yeah,
curious to hear
this
what you
was the
have.
one I was really hoping you knew more about. I just put it on here because it's one of the largest. But it's essentially a lot like Liberty, but it's not
Okay.
regionally accredited. It's nationally accredited, and it is technically still a for-profit. Well, actually, let me check the accreditation real quick. The Higher Learning Commission. Okay, I misspoke. They are regionally accredited, but they are a for-profit. Other than that, they're even a religious institution like Liberty is, and so I would put them at like a low C. Just so you know and everybody else knows, a C is about as high for me as a for-profit can get. Just because when you're a for-profit, your goal is to make money. It's not to help your students, even though sometimes those align. But if they ever have to make
Yeah.
a decision between helping you or making money, that's what they have to pick, is making money. The reason I think GCU gets a C is that they actually tried to drop their for-profit status a while ago, but failed. And I think they're maybe still working towards that. Okay. Strayer and Capella. For me, these two really go together. I believe they're both owned by the same parent company, right?
Yep.
And they're
Same thing that owns Sophia too, which is kind of
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, and it's interesting that and both of these schools like promote Sophia. They're like, hey, use Sophia courses, and part of the reason they have to do
Yeah.
that is because they cost so much. And if you didn't take Sophia courses, you'd be spending well over the average cost of an online college degree, which is $51,000. I mean, for me, these guys hop right into D tier because they're for profits.
E tier. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, D
I
tier.
I would say C tier,
Really?
mostly because Capella is pretty hackable. They accept CLEP, Sophia. I'm pretty sure Straighter Line, DSST as well.
They are
You're right
hackable.
that
That's for
they're
sure.
hackable. Cost isn't great, but like if you compare cost to something like Purdue, which we put in B tier, uh, I feel like it's sort of comparable, and the result that you're getting isn't too different. You know?
Hmm. Interesting. I think for me, the for profit status is enough to sink them just because it's like, why would you pay more? Well, here's the big thing that sinks them. Strayer University graduation rate is a 20.3%. And then Capella
It's
graduation
19.
rate, yeah, is 19%, which is awful.
It's very
Really,
bad.
if you're looking at schools, I think 30% is kind of the minimum you want to look at. So I say D tier because the graduation rate is so low and the cost is so much higher than normal. I don't know. Do you want to come back with another good reason for C tier?
I think D tier is fair. I would just say I think they have a lot of potential
Mm,
for going maybe even as high as B tier if they change up some things, if they focus a little less on profit. I mean, these guys have a lot of connections. Like they're owned by this big company which owns Sophia, which owns a coding boot camp, and
mm,
obviously Strayer and Capella. So if they used those resources to try and cut down on costs, maybe even make a few new programs for other majors or things like that,
yeah.
I think they have a lot of potential. But right now, you're right that they're not worth it for a consumer standpoint.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like if we were looking at these schools as like stocks to invest in, like which school do you think will
Yeah,
be here longer? I'd put Strayer and Capella higher. I really would.
I would
Um,
honestly put them in S tier if there
yeah.
were stocks to invest in. You know,
They're making
I
money.
mean, the holding company actually is a stock, and I am invested in it.
Oh,
So
okay. Would
just like $10, not a whole lot, but
I hope your $10 becomes $15.
me too.
Excelsior. What are your thoughts on Excelsior?
A while ago, I probably would have ranked them higher. They were definitely unique because they were previously like all about competency-based education. Some of these other ones, like Liberty University, had online credits sort of as an afterthought, whereas Excelsior, that was their whole thing.
Yeah.
But recently, they had a few changes. Cost wise, they kind of suck. I think they got rid of their UXL exams.
They did, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody used the UXL exams because that was a great way to get upper level credit in major areas, and a lot of the hackable schools accepted that. But then they, for some reason, got rid of the UXL exams and made a bunch of other policy changes that made them just way worse to try to hack.
Yeah. So I would personally put them in D tier. Not sure about you though.
Um, yeah, it's kind of like right on. They're either like, for me, they're either like right here or right there. I would say they're a better D tier. Yeah, let's say the best D tier.
They're definitely one of the more interesting ones. Like they do sort of fit into a niche,
Yeah,
but the recent changes kind of just get rid of all of that. Doesn't make it matter anymore.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. Charter Oak. Not sure how much research you've done into them, but I would put them in kind of like middle C tier. They're very similar to Excelsior. They used to be part of the big three, but recently, again, they also made some policy changes that made them harder to hack. And so you're just better off going somewhere else most of the time.
They also seem very not user friendly. Like I looked at their website and it looks so old, like early 2000s old or something. It it does not make me want to go. And like stock footage too. Uh,
Yeah.
just from a marketing standpoint, they have some work to do.
No, I see what you're saying. I like how clean it is, but
Yeah,
the stock
the
footage is a
content
little
isn't
bit
bad.
off-putting.
It's just like the design of it all.
Yeah, it kind of looks like an old WordPress site, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It feels like they made it in Squarespace. All right, University of Maryland Global Campus and UMass Global are the other two global schools I'll throw in here. UMass Global has like some competency-based courses that makes them pretty cool. And so I think they're technically, for me, slightly below Colorado State because while they accept a lot of hackable credit, they don't. Actually, they're slightly above because they and Colorado State both have this issue of like accepting a lot of alternative credit as an elective instead of as an actual course, which makes it a lot harder to hack. And UMGC is just below Colorado State. It's also actually I think Colorado State's slightly better, but all three of the global schools are okay, not great. Mostly just because, like, while they look good on paper, we accept lots of transfer credits. We accept a lot of these, alternative Sophia, CLEP, everything else. We have good prices. When you get down to it, actually finding a CLEP or a Sophia that will fit the course requirement you're trying to fill is difficult because they come in as electives most of the time. It's really annoying.
and I don't know too much about either of these. I did do a bit of research on both of them, and they seem okay all around. I just think there's better options to choose from.
Yep. Yep. I think that's a good way to summarize it. I had just discovered them the past couple of days while I was scripting another video, and I was really excited when I found out, some stuff about them. I was like, oh, there's real potential here. These schools are actually pretty cool. And I dug a little deeper, and I just was less and less impressed. Next up is the Harvard Extension School.
This one is also very interesting, kind of like
Yeah.
WGU or ASU.
Yeah, and I think we both agree it belongs very much in specialized because they only accept CLEP. I think they only accept up to 45 credits of CLEP, and they won't tell you where the CLEPs will apply in the degree program until you've applied. So trying to hack them is like throwing darts at a board blindfolded. But they are very cool in that you can go get a freaking degree from Harvard online, and it's not going to be cheap. Not going to be too expensive. It is going to be more expensive than any of these other options, I think.
Yeah.
But you can try to hack some of it with the CLEP. Give it, your best guess. Maybe transfer some credits in from somewhere else. See if they'll take them. But then you freaking get to take Harvard courses. It's so cool. So if somebody just really wants to do the learning or get the bragging rights, there's your specialized degree.
It is pretty cool to say that you went to Harvard, and obviously it's a lot cheaper than actually going to Harvard.
Yeah,
And
that
probably
is true.
quicker too if you're taking CLEPs. But I personally wouldn't recommend this to anyone just because, like, if you said you went to Harvard Extension School on a resume, you know, it's probably not going to give you that much of a benefit. And honestly, if you're trying to get an online degree, the purpose you're getting the degree for is actually for the career.
Yeah.
For in-person schools, it's more about experience, finding out what you're interested in, meeting new people. If you're doing it the online route, it's more of a means to an end.
Well said. Well said. And we're getting close to the end here. We still don't have any S tier colleges. Very excited to see if that happens. But Franklin University, you have to talk about this one because this is the school you're literally going to.
Yeah.
And you've talked to the dean and stuff too. You've done some real boots on the ground kind of work here.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's not the dean anymore, but very interesting guy. I could have a whole video about that conversation. Let's just start in terms of cost. In cost, I don't think it's that great. It's about $400 or $500 per course, or no, per credit. So that's even worse. And then for transferability, they're very accepting of transfer credits. Both CLEP, Sophia, Straighter Line,
even nationally accredited credits, transfer credits too.
Yeah, and they also have their own sort of equivalency exam called the FOOP. I don't remember what it stands for. Franklin something. And they also do prior experience. For hackability, they're definitely top tier. Price wise, they're not great, but if you're hacking most of your degree, which you can hack up to 70% of it, which is pretty darn good. So it makes the price a lot better when you think about it that way.
Yeah. And I'll jump in there too. I think it's actually like 76%. Because some of their degrees 76. Are 124 credits and they only really require you to take 30 credits with them.
Yeah. Other than that, they don't have too much that differentiates them from anyone else. The main reason I'm going is because they're affiliated with my community college. So I'm not like a spokesperson or anyone. I don't think they're the best option out there, but they're definitely one of your better options.
Oh, yeah. Agreed.
I would put them on the same tier as Liberty University. Possibly comparable to SNHU, but they are more expensive.
Yeah, and I was thinking like either right in front of or right behind Liberty. I feel like I have more experience with Liberty, and so it's easier for me to say, like in the middle here. But as we work more and more with Franklin, I could see it moving over there pretty easily. I don't know. Yeah, I would say here or there. Maybe the one thing that differentiates Liberty is just that Liberty has, I think, more degrees to choose from.
True. They are a much larger school. Franklin, they have a mid-sized selection of degrees to choose from. So it's not that bad, but...
Oh, and it's not bad at all. Like, they are a really, for the size they are, which is, I think, somewhere around 20,000 students. I mean, look at all these degrees they have to choose from. I mean, it's not 172 like Liberty, but at the same time, like these are very distinct and unique degrees in a lot of cases. They've got computer stuff, psychology, sport management, nursing, RN to BSN, info tech, entrepreneur. I mean, they just have almost everything you could ask for.
The one thing they are sort of lacking is master's and graduate degrees, which Liberty has quite a lot of.
Yes.
And I think that's just because they're an online college. Most people don't go to online colleges for their masters. They want more of an in-person experience and like actually hands-on career training, pretty much.
That can be it for sure. And the other thing too is that like Liberty, while they have a really solid undergrad program, their main bread and butter is providing religious graduate level education. Like that's where they try to be the very best school in the world. Like that's their target. They do a lot of other things well, but that's like their big thing. Yeah, no, this is looking really good. U of the People is our second to last. And we put these in no particular order. This is just how they shook out. But U of the People. Yeah. U of the People is tuition free, but you do pay, I think, a $120 fee per final exam for each course, just like so that somebody will grade it and you can actually get the college credit for it. So you end up spending about $6,000 on a U of the People degree. The big con is that they are currently seeking regional accreditation, but they are only nationally accredited. So they are not the best degree to get if you're wanting to go on to grad school in the U.S. At the same time, great school for anybody overseas where regional and national accreditation doesn't really exist. And it's overall like a very like cool community-based approach to learning. So because they're nationally accredited, I kind of take them out of this list, and I think they belong more in specialized, just because they're really good at several things, but just not at some of the main things. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. I mean, if you're an international student, U of the People is awesome. If you're not and you want to get a master's or a doctoral degree, then probably should look elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's also pretty decent in terms of price. Like you said, only $6,000 for a
Yeah.
bachelor's degree.
That's amazing.
Pretty darn good. I haven't done too much research into how long the degree takes. Do you know anything about that?
It's fairly hackable. It's not got quite the infrastructure or the information out there to be able to hack it like you can with some of our A and B tier schools or even WGU.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly more hackable than ASU or Harvard or, yeah, basically more hackable than just those two. But still not quite as hacking friendly. And part of that's because they only have like, I think 3 degrees to choose from. And so, I mean,
They have 3 like groupings of degrees, but they have like 2 or 3 within those groupings. It's kind of weird how they set it up. They also have certificate programs.
That's true.
Also could be good depending on who you are.
Yeah, they've got business admin, computer science, and health science. Just like WGU, minus the teaching. That's those are the 3 big money makers these days. Well, overall, really good program, especially for people outside the U.S. And as they get their regional accreditation figured out, they might even become a more regular on the channel too. Finally, we have little UMPI, the little school that could. Undoubtedly the smallest school on this entire list with like 1,500 people. And they weren't even considered hackable until like 2016 when an administrator took over their online program or started it and instituted a lot of policies that made it very, very competitive. They take a lot of transfer credit. They have some very flexible degrees. All of the equivalencies are posted publicly, except I think DSST and Sophia, which you have to go digging for or ask them for. So it's a little bit harder to hack just because you have to find some of that information for yourself. But once you do, they have hardly any degrees that you can't get down to only having to take 30 credits with them. And then on top of that, their subscription model like WGU where you pay $1,400 and go through the courses at your own pace. So we've even got a video on the channel with this guy up here who did a single or 33 credits in a single 8-week term and only spent like $1,400 on that degree, which was awesome. Yeah. Any thoughts on this one, Noah?
I think it's probably A tier. I mean,
yeah,
very hackable, so you can get a degree pretty short. And then the price is probably better than everything on this list.
It's not as good per day. Like WGU is like buying in bulk, and so it's a little cheaper per week or per day.
Okay.
But $1,400 for 8 weeks is incredibly good.
And they have more degree options than WGU,
So that one I might have to disagree with you on. Let's take a look real quick. They have basically, what is this one? They have like 14 degrees to choose from, but most of them are just specializations. So you've got some accounting business stuff. You've got criminal justice, history and politics, English and journalism, and then basically a Chipotle degree over here with several different specializations. So they actually have less to choose from WGU. And like this, in my review of them, was their biggest weakness, is there's just so few degrees that you can take with them. If it wasn't for this, personally, I would put them in S tier. But because it's a little bit harder to find some of the equivalencies and because they have so few degrees to choose from, so like if you want psych or anything to do with computers or healthcare, you're just completely out of luck. I think that brings them down to A tier. I just don't know where in A tier. If you need one of the degrees they offer, they're over here. But if you don't have one of the degree, or if you're looking for like a computer degree, well, then they're down here. Like any school that doesn't have a degree you're looking for is at the bottom because you just can't go there if it doesn't have the degree you need.
That makes me almost want to put them in specialized, even though they're very good price-wise. So I want to put it up, but like still, just because of the degree selections.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's now you can see like it's so hard when I'm making, like I've been working on the script for the top 5 online colleges for busy adults. Like where do you put a school that's like that? So yeah, I would say somewhere in A tier. Well, if they have the degree you're looking for, they go right there. If they don't have the degree you're looking for, then yeah, down in specialized. We'll just split the difference and put them right there for now.
That works.
I think the big thing to keep in mind And there was really like kind of a lesson staring at us here in the face is that there's literally no schools in S tier. And that's because whoever you are, whatever you're doing, there is never going to be a school that is completely perfect for you. There's always going to be some flaw, some drawback, and that's because we're humans and we're working with a flawed system that is doing its best to suit people but can't always get it right. And if it was all free and they accepted all the transfer credits and they had the exact degree you wanted and the student experience was great, then, maybe we'd find an S tier school, but no school is perfect. So at the end of the day, you have to look through, hopefully some of these ones that are not in D tier and decide what's a good fit for you. Noah, any final words? Any parting words?
Before we go, I have an interesting question for you, Clifford.
Okay.
So you went to two of the schools on this list,
Yeah.
Liberty and Thomas Edison.
Yes.
If you were to start back at ground zero, which school do you think you would personally choose?
I really like that question. Yeah, because we know what you're choosing. You're currently at ground zero and you're working towards Franklin. If I had to choose, gosh, I'd be so tempted to go the Harvard route if I had some money laying around. But if I was, back to being 18 and trying to figure this all out, gosh, UMPI has an English degree, but it's not a very focused English degree. At the same time, it'd probably be good enough to get my master's in English, which is what I had wanted to do. So I'd probably go UMPI and try to knock it out pretty quickly. But
that's sort of what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd still be very tempted by Thomas Edison, though. Back in the day, they had a really great discount for military families. And so, or like family members of military service members. Mm-hmm. And so Thomas Edison back in the day cost me like $7,400. And that's just slightly north of what UMPI would cost. So if I went back in time and there was UMPI and there was Thomas Edison side by side, it'd be kind of a toss-up for me.
It's also kind of interesting because it also very much depends on what you want to do after you get the degree.
Yeah.
Like even if the degree selection is very limited, like something like UMPI, if you're going to go to grad school anyways and major in something else entirely, why not get like a Chipotle major from UMPI, save a lot of money, do it in like 1 to 2 years, and then actually spend the time gaining work experience or preparing for your graduate study,
Yeah.
So it really depends on what you want to do after.
You're speaking my language there. I think so many people think, oh gosh, I better get a good undergraduate degree. That's what matters. And they're thinking that because that's what's right in front of them and they want to do a good job and they want to not mess up. But the fact of the matter is if you have $5 and undergrad and you have to pay for undergrad and grad, spend $1 on undergrad and then spend $4 on grad, because once you have that grad degree, nobody cares what your bachelor's degree is. They're never going to think about it, ask about it, talk about it, or anything. All that matters is that grad degree. So set yourself up for success for your grad degree, but don't sweat too much what your undergrad was in or where it was at if you're going for that grad program. That's a really good point, Noah. And you set me up to hop on my soapbox so nicely there. That's amazing.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Hope that this has been helpful for you. Please hit us up with questions down below. We're also starting a Discord community for College Hacked. There'll be a link to that down below as well. If you don't know how to use Discord, it's very easy. It's kind of like an ever-growing chat room where you can ask questions about college hacking or anything else. And of course, we're just one of many communities on Discord, the College Hack community. But we'd love to have you come and show up over there and hang out with us. Noah is one of our mods and has been putting it together. We'd love to be able to offer you some help and for you to be able to connect with other people who are going through this process. The link is down below. And if you want help putting together a degree plan for one of these schools or figuring out which of these schools is a good fit for you personally, we also have a link down below for consultations with my team. We hope to talk to you some in person and get you on this road to graduation success. Thank you very much, Noah, for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Happy hacking.